I decided to jump in and share with you a webinar that I have access to through ISTE, I-S-T-E, which is the International Society for Technology and Education. Became a member of that this year, wrote a grant to attend their conference this summer. Cheryl Hitchcock and I together did that, and we were accepted. And this conference is like 18,000 people. It's huge, and it's mostly practitioners. And so they do have obviously a great online presence with the whole teacher education, what I'll call a SIG or special interest group that I'm following and learning. Like you all, I'm learning. And this lady, Patricia Brown, is from Missouri, and this is her webinar that she did, and I did get permission from her, as well as I'll call it the curator of the webinar, Simon Helton, to share this with you, although we won't be allowed to put it on social media or make it broadly available. She talks pretty fast. I want to give you a heads up on that. And a lot of what you're going to be seeing is at the elementary school level. And so think broadly that, across PK 12 and 16 even, and thinking about your university classes, and how maybe some of these ideas can percolate and help you think about what maybe we could be doing to help prepare our future teachers. So the way this will work, this webinar is about 20 minutes roughly, and then when it's over, I'm going to put up a link for you to go to my Google Drive, where there are a ton of apps that you can just start playing with. So we'll have some playtime, and within this presentation there are slides available that I'll pull up if you have an interest, where there are links to videos that give more information. So if you see something as you're watching the webinar, a slide that has a particular app that, and especially if you see that it has a video link, let me know and we'll revisit it and get a little bit more information and see some more detail. Okay.
If you want to access the slides, I posted in the chat the link, but it's also listed here on the first slide. So just go to missedtechie.com/workshop, and you can access the entire slide deck. I have quite a few slides and lots of information to share with you, which is way more than I can fit in a 30-minute time period. So that's why I'm giving you access to the slides, so you can go back and check it out on your own. So when I first want to start, I want to talk to you about 3 of my absolute favorite apps before we even get into anything. Diddy is one of my favorite ones, and what it does is allows you to type in words and it turns your words into songs, really catchy songs, and you can put some of your favorite songs, change the words, make it fun. A lot of teachers have used this to teach content for kids to be able to share their knowledge. Another one I love is Clips. And if you go on Twitter and do the hashtag Classic Clips, there are a ton of examples of how you can use clips. What I love about it is it creates this closed captioning so that as you are speaking, the words come up on the slide, up on the screen, which is amazing. And then my other favorite, absolute favorite app is called Quick. And what it does is, if you want to have some amazing, beautiful videos that people think took you hours to make, and it only really takes you about 10 minutes, use the Quick app. And it will turn your photos into these wonderful videos, great transitions, all kinds of great things. So those are 3 of my quick little iPad apps that I absolutely love. And then I'll click through, but these are video examples of those apps that I just shared. So as we're going through the session today, I'd love for you to share in the chat how you might use some of these apps that I talk about and some of the strategies that I give. So be sure and be free to have that conversation in the chat. So this came about because I was in a district where we literally, when we first started using iPads, had thousands and I do mean thousands of apps in our portal throughout our district. And we had a lot of math apps, reading apps, apps that did a lot of drill and practice. And so we were just getting overwhelmed with apps. I always have teachers asking, what, do you have an app for this? Do you have an app for that? And it just got so overwhelming. And so what we started to do was go to replacing pencil and paper with apps. So I started thinking about how can we go beyond paper and pencil apps. And content-specific apps are great, but they don't necessarily redefine learning. And so I thought about how can we use iPads as a learning tool and go from using them as a consumption tool to a creation. And allow kids to be able to create, allow kids to be able to connect with the iPad. And so it's important for our kids to be able to make deeper connections with each other in content specifically, and be able to use them to collaborate. We also want them to definitely be able to create with the app, and we want them to be able to communicate with the iPad. Also, for a teacher, it's really great to be able to use them for assessment. Anybody heard of the SAMR model? Well, that definitely is a way to think about how you're using the iPad to go from substitution all the way up to redefinition. And I'll just kind of share real quickly for those who haven't heard of the SAMR model. So when you think about substitution, you think about replacing the device or paper pencil. Say instead of reading a book on a regular book, you would instead read that book on an iPad. And then redefining allows kids to either create their own book, be able to publish their own books and things like that. And so here's some questions that you can ask yourself as you are thinking about activities and lessons that you're doing with students that involve just technology in general. You can ask yourself these questions. So one of the things that I really love are the new features that were embedded right into the new iOS system. So you know that you can now scan your QR code just with the camera app. You can scan documents and annotate the documents right on your in your Notes app. Really simple and easy. You can record your screen. So if someone says, how do you do X, Y, Z? You can easily complete the task on your iPad and record yourself as you are doing it. There's other features like the augmented reality. There's split screen so that you can see two different apps open at the same time. And of course, we have our floating dock. So those are just some new features that they've embedded into the new iOS system. So talk in the chat, how might you use some of these features? What comes to mind right off the bat? How can you make your students' workflow a lot easier? So kind of share that within the chat. So
I'm going to stop just a second and ask you, just so far, anything in particular that that jumps out at you that you think, oh, well, that's interesting. I wonder more about that.
Her favorite three at the beginning.
The three at the beginning, the ditty and yeah, I think that's pretty cool to be able to, yeah, record your voice and then they turn it into a song. That'd be fun just to play with.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anything else jump out at anybody?
Well, once again, replacing all those apps. We have too many.
Too many, and that SAMR model. So thinking about substitution. So they had the cup of coffee to the Starbucks coffee, and then all the different pieces, all the way to redefining. So we're not just being consumers of technology, but we're going to start producing and teaching our students. And the great thing about this is we don't have to be experts. We can learn with them, and that's what I tell my students, is that I'm learning with you. We're going to make mistakes as we go along, and it's okay. That's part of the learning process. So it's a little overwhelming because there's so much information, but hopefully as we continue to watch, there'll be some ideas you can start to grab onto, and even if it's one thing that you think, okay, I'm going to try this one thing in my class and see how it works. Okay, we'll continue.
I love, as it relates to using the iPad, would be to have kids quickly be able to share their learning. When we first got the iPads, it was such a hassle to try to figure out how do I get the students' work from the iPad to somewhere else, whether it be online, whether it be to another iPad, whether it be just to the teacher. So using tools like AirServer, that is a simple app that you can use where you can mirror what's on your iPad to your screen or your computer screen, which you can then plug into your smart board or whatever type of whiteboard you have, you can always upload to Google Drive if you're a Google Apps district, or the real easy thing to do is just the AirDrop. So that's one thing that we always seem to forget sometimes, how to get things from an iPad to a different device, and you can easily use one of those three strategies. You can, when I talked about Google Drive, there's that open-end feature where you can take iMovie, Book Creator, 30 Hands apps, to give a few examples, and be able to upload them to Drive so kids can collaborate, share, or maybe even use a different device if they had issues with one of their devices. I always say, don't ever forget the power of the camera app. And there's so many things we can do just by using our camera. There's a video here about our solar eclipse. So in St. Louis, we had a wonderful view of the solar eclipse. And so one of the teachers took her phone, sat it on the steps, because of course we were all outside, and she recorded the solar eclipse. And she did a time lapse to make it go really fast, and it was just phenomenal. So that video is there for you to see. Also think about how you can do simple scavenger hunts with the photos. So have kids as young as kindergarten, take pictures of things around their room. This is one example I found on online. I think it was on Pinterest, where it was an easy scavenger hunt for kids to recognize different items in their classroom, label them, take pictures, and it was a great practice. Anybody using Goose Chase? Goose Chase is a great way to use your camera and also create a photo mission. You can have all kinds of missions. I've done missions where teachers had to have getting to know you activities. We've done missions where they've done some text and reading. We've done fun missions. We've done missions connected directly to content. So Goose Chase is not free, but there are some free functions that you can use, and that's really a fun way to get kids using the iPad. When we talk about fluency, using the camera app, have students record themselves reading. Have them look back at how they were reading, listen back to their recording, and they can actually watch themselves as they're reading. So that's one way for students to self-evaluate. Here's an example of a teacher assessing students with archery. This is my PE teacher, so that's a video that you can check out. We also had our music teacher use the camera app for students to play, do their playing test, and then they can go back and look and watch and do a self-evaluation. So they're evaluating how well they're playing. They're also looking at how their posture and things like that. We also had our students go on an array hunt. They used EduCreation. This was a real-world connection. This is a way for them to redefine their learning as well as show what they are learning, what they know about arrays. So they went around the school, looked for images of arrays, and they actually used EduCreation to create a video showing their learning. I always love Pick Collage. And you can take Pick Collage and have the kids annotate an image that they made themselves, or annotate something that you provided for them. Here's an example of a kindergarten class, and they were learning about the 5 senses. So they took pictures of themselves, their different body parts, and they were labeling their body parts. The student on the left, he did a getting to know you beginning of the year activity where he actually used some words to describe himself and how he sees himself. We also, at the beginning of the year, talked about digital citizenship, and so we used Pick Collage to create our own digital footprint. So students were able to create their own footprints. They took off their shoes, took a picture of their shoes, and wrote some positive things that they wanted to show on their digital footprint. We also did the same thing with human body. So we incorporated augmented reality and using Erasmus. And so the students were studying human body. So they created a human body collage, and then they took their collage and created videos that they embedded with their Erasmus to show what they knew about that particular body function, that body part. We did some things with ThingLink, and the students were learning about pilgrims, so we took some images that we app smash and Pick Collage, and actually created a kind of like a quest for the students to follow. So we had students create their own. This one was the example created by the teacher. You can also make your images interactive. So if you ask Max, take your camera app, make a collage, and then use ThingLink to actually create. So this was, our typical beginning of the year. We take a picture of our class. So this teacher actually used it as student portfolio. So she had all of those different links, took you to one of the students' projects that they had at the end of the year. So you can do student portfolios, reports, all kind of interactive maps. I even seen a teacher do an interactive scavenger hunt of her class or a tour of her classroom using ThinkLink. Stop motion films are great. Here's a link to a rain sports project that some of my students did. The Lego Movie Maker app is really good to use, really simple. And so we also had students do a project with states of matter. So they were learning about the states of matter and they created a stop motion film. So you get what I'm saying, the students are creating things to show what they know. They're showing their learning in a more creative way. Not once have I showed you so far any app that required drill and practice, or it was something that was routine or what you would consider to be substitution. So I'm showing you ways that you can have kids creatively show what they know. Here's some other apps that you might want to look at. Vocaroo, even though it is not an app, you can definitely use it online. And what I love about it is it allows you to create a QR code directly from that app. And so I'll show you an example in a few of how we use Vocaroo with an interactive art show. And Seesaw is something that I will also show in a few minutes as well. Seesaw is an amazing portfolio app for students. You can have all kinds of things. So I've just recently worked with some Reading Lab teachers, and what they've done is allowed kids to, they've uploaded passages for students to read, and they're recording their fluency. And so this is a great example to show parents, so parent-teacher conferences. Let them listen to their students, let them watch the videos. They can also do some interactivity and annotate the slides and the images in Seesaw. So it's really a great way for kids to do some close reading. And it gives them a really cool way, even when you have students that don't necessarily like to read, using that iPad and allowing that interactivity to happen really opens up doors for kids. So here's a picture of one of the classes doing some read aloud, and the teacher is showing them how to use Seesaw. And so during their read aloud independent time, they have the option to record using Seesaw. Our art teacher started using the app Artsonia. And so our students are uploading their art projects. So we're taking their physical art that they've been doing, and they're taking the image and they're uploading it to Artsonia, which is totally free. And they're able to share with their parents the art projects that they've been creating. We have over 3,000 art portfolios, art projects uploaded to student portfolios as of this date. So it is really a powerful tool. Plus, they're able to create different projects with their art pieces, so they can make mugs or all kind of mats or different things that parents would love to purchase. When we talk about QR codes, as you can see from this image, you'll see that this was our interactive art show. So we had our art pieces up on the walls throughout the building, and then you'll see the little blue QR code. And so what we did was we used the website Vocaroo, which I mentioned earlier, and what we do is record the voices of the students talking about their art pieces, and they're sharing their projects. And so when the parents scan the QR code, they are listening to their students reflect on their art projects. They're listening to them talk about the process and how they created the art pieces. So this art show that we used to have a few years ago, before we had started doing our QR codes, parents would go through really quickly, look at the art pieces, and go home. Now it becomes a conversation. Other parents are able to listen and find different projects that the students are doing, and it has really become a really powerful experience. So here's some other examples you can do with QR codes. Photo Babble is a way for you to make the mouse move. You actually draw a mouth there and have it move. You also can do book reviews. We've had students do sight words. My kindergarten, I've created sight word QR codes for them. So many different ways that you can utilize it. Here's some other examples in math, and this is just using the iPad as well. Here's a video that shows that interactive art show that we had that you can take a look at. Another thing I talked about earlier is having your kids, instead of reading a book, how about they create their own book? So going to the reading definition level, you're allowing your students to be able to create. And so having them show their learning through writing a book, creating a book. We have some examples like science experiments, shape projects, research projects. So as you click through these different slides, you'll be able to see some of these examples. Our students in 4th grade did a biome research, and so they actually created their own book based on what they learned about biome. Another example, you can upload your books through Google Drive, Dropbox, so your options are limitless. Of course, iMovie trailers are always a hit. If you go to learninginhand.com, Tony Vincent has created some example storyboards for students to be able to flesh out their project ideas. So you can download all of his examples for the different trailers. He has all the trailers listed for you, and you can download those to help your students. Here's an example of iMovie trailer, also mystery Skyping with our students. And that takes me to some digital storytelling. So allowing kids to create videos. I love videos. The best way for students to show their learning, to me, is through video and images. So here are some apps that you can use. Of course, Animoto, Videolicious, VoiceThread, and 30 Hands are very simple apps for students to use. Here's a couple examples of some 6-word stories. And Flipgrid is another discussion style app that you can use. And it allows kids to really be able to give a short response, a short answer to a question or a prompt. It has kind of a social media feel, so students can record their voices and like each other's projects. Of course, I always love the Osmo. There are a lot of different apps that goes along with that. They have a whole plethora of games, but my 2 favorite would be the Word app, which allows teachers to actually create their own word list from spelling list or whatever you would have, a reading list. They also have 2 coding games that are really popular with our students. And then that brings me to augmented reality. I talked a little bit earlier about Erasmus, and that is like my go-to app when it comes to augmented reality. But here are some other ones that you might be interested in looking at. A lot of them allow you to create, and some of them are already created for you. Depends on what you're looking at. So here's one with the color app, and the students, this one is a fun one. This one was just using playing soccer, but they have some that are science-based, they have some history-based ones, and they have Dot Day. If you ever celebrate Dot Day, they have a really cool Erasmus for that one, for augmented reality. Hopper Toys has a great series of augmented reality options. You're looking at an image of the students using the poster. So they are actually watching a simulation of the solar system through that augmented reality app. They have books, they have posters, they have all kinds of things that really get kids involved. So here's a video that you will see that has an augmented reality. I think they're using the Dot app. Even deeper, here's some if you're really into the human body. This one is really cool. This is Virtually T app from Curoscope, and it actually, you can take a student, put on a green shirt, and their body, of course it's not really there, but it simulates what the inside of their body looks like, and they can actually annotate it and label the different parts. One last thing I want to say, if you're not on Twitter, you should get on Twitter because it will really allow you to grow your PLN. But what I really want you to know about Twitter is it is a powerful search engine. So if you are interested in any of these apps that I have talked about, and you want more ideas, you want more examples, if you go out to Twitter and just search for them, you will find all kinds of examples that teachers have created, that they're willing to share. And you go out there and you might see something in your, it might be an image or a photo of a project that a teacher is doing with students. And if you just reach out to that teacher and say, hey, share more, I'm really interested in knowing how you did that. 9 times out of 10, a teacher is more than willing to share their projects and kind of give you some insight on how they did that. So always go out to social media. You're not alone. So be sure to go out there and help grow your PLN and learn from each other. And once again, if you want to access the slides, I know I went through them pretty quickly, but I wanted to make sure I was able to share. And hopefully, you've already accessed the slides at missedtechie.com/workshop, and you kind of had a chance to kind of look through the videos as I'm going through.
Okay, I'm going to pause there. And, several things came to my mind watching the video. And I was thinking, through the lens of Residency 1, having taught that. So I was thinking, the students have to do research briefs. And so, and share those. You could have QR codes made so that they can easily access those research briefs, is one thing that came to mind. I was also thinking about Vocaroo, which is not an app, but it's a website, voice website. Thinking about capturing students' voices in terms of their experiences and what they're learning, almost like testimonials. And then that the iMovie clip. We have them do the projects at the end of the semester and have them create these movie trailers that lead you into whatever it is they're going to present. Those are some things that came to my mind as I was thinking about Residency 1, and I'm sure you had some ideas as well. So this is Patricia Brown's website, and this is where her the slides are here, which I've pulled them up. And earlier, I went through each of these slides and watched the video examples, and they are wonderful because it gives you time to see what does that really look like, and you can access that if you let's see if I make that large. The link to apps, and when I say apps, I am referencing. Let's see if I can get back to that here. There's a list of apps. I've pulled it off. But if you go to this tinyurl.com, YBFE63FN, if you type that into Google Chrome, you will get a Word document, which I'll pull up in a moment, that will have a bunch of apps where you can play. And the very links, I should say, the very bottom one is to Patricia Brown's website and those different videos. It's the slides with the different videos embedded. And then the final URL, which I'll put on if you'd like to leave an evaluation, anonymous evaluation. So let me see. I will pull up, actually, I'll just take this link. And it's probably up there, and there it is. So this is what you will see, and you can select any of these to play. This bottom one here is to Patricia Brown's site, and you can go to Unleashing Creativity with iPads if you want to see more of that in particular. But what I'm going to do is just open up for some discussion and then play time. So there was a lot to see. Anything in particular in that second half that stood out to you that was interesting? There's a lot. I saw you taking a lot of notes. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff there. A lot of stuff to be used.
We're talking about using some kind of technology for our students to upload simple video. So which one of these would be best for that? Would it be just the iMovie or?
Yeah, well, the iMovie is already on the iPads and on the Macs, and so you can videotape, you can record just like you were going to take a picture, but put it on video like you would your camera. And I have done that with the students teaching in the field and in the classroom, to use the iPad to do that. You got to make sure that there's enough space, so depending upon how long, and then they can edit those movies through iMovie if you want them edited. And they can even, like I'm thinking about in my 3300 class where they're doing their micro teaching for 20 minutes, rather than using the camcorder and then with the SD card that then they have to put into their computer and download and all of that, seeing if there's a way to go from iMovie to live text, although we have to compress. And I think you can compress in iMovie. It's got to be 150 megabytes or less to be uploaded into live text. And I'm pretty sure that you can do that compression in iMovie. And the quality is much better than the handheld cameras. So I would just recommend that simply. But there were several video apps. I've used Flipgrid in my class. Flipgrid. So it's like, you know how D2L has the discussion board? This is a video discussion board. So you create a grid with classes, and so I have 3 different classes I used it with, and I put a prompt in for them to answer, and then they record themselves, and it through using the Flipgrid app. It's free, so you click on the app, and you have to there'll be a code. It's kind of like Nearpod where there's a code that they access. So here's the code. I'm a student. I download Flipgrid. It's free. I open up Flipgrid. I put in my code, and there's the prompt for my teacher. And I record myself responding to that prompt or doing whatever the prompt says. And it can only be like maybe a minute or a minute and 30 seconds, something like that. And then everyone who goes on to Flipgrid who has that code has access to see what other people are saying, and they can respond and can like it, but there's only positive, you can do thumbs up or heart and respond. So that's been a fun tool to use.
And we're having our students now, past students, submit 1-minute testimonials about different phases of EdTPA and Residency 1.
I saw that. I don't know if you can take it out of Flipgrid. So that might not be the best place to use that, but we can do a little digging and see if you can export any of those out. But certainly just through the video, in your phone, just recording yourself on the phone would work for that too. So some good ideas. So were you able to access that page? And you might even if you wanted to take a picture, in particular that bottom, Patricia Brown's website, then you will have access to lots of things that she has done. And Terry, I know you're on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I do more retweeting. I'm a voyeur. I kind of see what other people are doing, but I follow a number of education websites and tweeters and whatnot, and I get some really great ideas. It's a lot to take in, so I'll go through and here's another one. Pocket is an app, like a Pocket, where if you find, because this happens to me, I find these articles through my Twitter account that I don't have time to read right then, and you can save it to Pocket. And they just go right into Pocket, and then I can get to them, and I'm not, like I was emailing myself links. Well, they were getting buried in all my other emails. So that Pocket allows me to put them in the Pocket, and then I can open them. And a lot of those I share with my students. So anyway, just another idea. So I'm going to give you time to play. And if you want to go on any links, and I appreciate you guys coming.